Everybody to our annual plan adoption meeting. On Tuesday we heard from ARMC and dealt with RECs 1 through to 6. We also adopted the Climate Change Resilience Fund policy. Then we started discussion on the draft plan, at which point we started going through the proposed amendments and received staff advice. First up today, we have grouped amendments into the following batches: noting provisions for report requests, rec and sport and property, parks, community, and lastly transport. A handful of amendments which the mover and seconder need to confirm. And once we have these confirmed, we'll be then holding one debate for all the amendments on the annual plan, all the amendments and the annual plan adoption. I will now hand over to Mary to give us a guide on where we are with remaining amendments.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Before I kick off, I do just want to acknowledge Sam and Kathy for their tremendous work over the last day and the batch ready to be sent out today. So good work. And also to our finance team. And finance team for checking the rates. So as Samir said, we will have received today, and you've got hard copies on your desk of the amendments that were put forward and discussed yesterday. So as Samir said, there's the batch through to page 15 that are the information requests. From there, we've got on to the things that actually do impact on service delivery activities or budgets, and we will go through those and just clarify that everyone's clear about that. And then do want to just spend a bit of time traversing the ones at the end, which were talked about on Tuesday. We just needed to clarify the rules and seconder as we've done that. I want to make sure everybody's clear on them before we start to debate your voting. So if we do just actually look at those now, if we look at the pages, so starting on page 4, these are all the amendments from 4 to 15, where councillors and have a seconder, which is where we're listing and it doesn't impact that activity. So some advice and information. So if we just look at these were discussed on Tuesday, so we should be able to move through them quite quickly. This one was a report on this backpack. Move and seconder were happy with that. It was discussed, so everyone understands what that one is. Please, I'll try and move quite quickly, so if you're not, please slow me down. Transport logistics, road, cycleways. It's up there. It was confirmed by and seconded, discussed on Tuesday. It's on page. We're over on page 5, plant species management plan.
Can we just find out when that biodiversity report?
I think we need a couple of months before we get
okay.
Comprehensive report.
Yeah, I actually thought it was due to 4 now, so it'd be good to find out when that one's coming through. Thank you.
We'll advise you in the next week or so, Councillor Donovan.
Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great. Great.
Yeah, just a report.
Okay, so people clear about that when we then move on to democracy services transparency tool. This was adjusted slightly. The move and seconder are happy with that. It was clear what that is. In September with options. To it was seconder. It was discussed on Tuesday. On page 6, on 17, transport Green Turning Arrow Workshop, again discussed on Tuesday. Moved and seconder, happy with that conclusion. Here, what that is. Read it. Okay, A19, so we're on page 6 now. A19 property Leslie Street. The mover and seconder are happy with that. It was discussed on Tuesday or clarified. A20 planning has since city vacant.
Yeah, happy.
Happy with that, moved and seconder happy with that. Great, and discussed on Tuesday. Do I need to read this out?
Yeah, share it and this be in minutes as well, so yeah.
22 Parks, that was 367 Hereford Street. The move and seconder are happy with that. And it was discussed on Tuesday. So clear. A25 digital AI policy, move and seconder were happy with this. It was discussed and Tuesday about it. So it should be moved on. So next page, page 8, A26, capitalisation of staff time. Again, the move and seconder were happy with this on Tuesday, and it was had some information discussed on Tuesday.
Can I just ask a question about that? I thought this came to us in a, haven't we looked at some of this in the capitalisation? We've already had some memo or some advice on it.
Yes, we have had some advice on that, and I think that was discussed again on Tuesday. And that's why we are reviewing. I think the advice was we continue to review that we are doing the capitalisation, so we will be able to report back. So there was a workshop on it, particular advice and a memo.
And we were already doing it.
It's just, that's why just that the
Gotcha.
position is noting it.
Thank you.
A27, income streams. Seconder were happy with this, so we will be arranging a workshop around streams.
And I've got another question on that one. We had another session recently where we were looking at all of the levers that we have to pull to increase income and reduce our costs. Was that also one of those things that came to us in that workshop?
Yeah, yes, it was, but this is actually, I think this was particularly looking at some of the land and building stuff, which wasn't actually focused on in that workshop, and also the potential changes in government legislation. Change. So
Thank you.
Yeah, and encompassing commercial partnerships and sponsorships for different things that may be feasible.
I think the frustration is that sometimes when you look at these things ad hocly, some around the table kind of say no and yes, so it's be really good to have a workshop to work out how we can go forward. Don't want to waste, going back to A26, staff time on something that's going to be thrown out later on by some, so that's clarifying.
A28, Mary?
Great, A28, bus exchange. It's an issue about public safety. And bus exchange, move and seconder are happy with this, and I think it was discussed on Tuesday.
Just a question on this, because it's been raised several times with us over a couple of years now. Is it possibly a time frame for when this report could come back?
Same as we have agreed to do with Councillor Donovan, let you know next week what the time frame of it.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Back down to the scope.
Thank you.
A29 Island Road pedestrian crossing, again, this was discussed on Tuesday and we got staff advice on Tuesday. Seconder happy with this resolution as it stands and agreed on Tuesday to this wording. So everyone clear what this one, the implications of this one are?
Sorry, just
A,
sorry, the question that was raised a couple of days ago was when do we get government oversight of the minor road safety program? And how do we prioritise the projects within it?
So we will again come back with you around a timing, but we will be looking back. So we'll do
Yeah.
that next week. So all these ones where there's a thing that staff will be reporting back, we will try and come back next month, you know, because we're at the end of this month, to say
Sure.
we'll enter them into that log of that you've got on your LinkedIn can about we will. So we'll enter these ones and I'll let you know.
We had some prioritised in that budget last in your plan.
So we'll definitely come back with a timeline for those. If they're passed, we'll come back with a timeline. No. A32, that's the Middleton Museum. This was discussed at Tuesday. And it's then the move and secretary are happy with this, or were signalled that they were happy on Tuesday. Then the next one again, for Middleton Museum, moving secretary again happy with this wording and was discussed on Tuesday.
Can I just double clarify the strengthening, would that be the Strengthening Communities Fund for 25, 26?
Yes, I think we discussed about actually accepting a late application.
Would that be for the board fund or Metro? I mean, they choose obviously, but
The board fund's about $7.50, so it'd be Metro.
I'm just wondering because it's a Metro, would it be directed by staff to go to Banks Peninsula, or would it be Metro? Choose, but
Probably Metro because it's a tourist thing as well.
that's what I'm hoping the answer is, but
Yeah. So we'll assume at this stage it's Metro because it's a city concept, even though it's located in Banks Peninsula.
This is for the museum.
Strengthening Communities.
That one, because we've got a similar example where funding for an administrator to get grants was funded through the community pool. So it does create a bit of an inconsistent approach. I support it that.
Do you know how big the Strengthening Communities Fund is for Banks Peninsula? Yours is about 5 times as big.
We will clarify which channel it's going on next week when we clarify the timing. I think there's probably going to be a nuance between your one and this one.
Just be good to get some clarity on that sort of inconsistent. Thank you.
A34, that is again, the moving secretary happy with this. It was discussed on Tuesday. And so I think it's debate on that.
Yeah.
Engagement.
Sweet. Yeah, that's good.
77, secretary concluded this on Tuesday. It was discussed on Tuesday. And so we probably do have enough of you, or you have enough information to debate that today. Page 10, still the bottom of it, A49, the guarantee for internet. It was moving secretary happy with this. We got staff advice about this, so it's the decision can be made today. Made today. A41, steadfast reserve garage. Again, moving seconder, we're happy with this resolution discussed on Tuesday. So you to be able to debate and decide on that today.
That's good, thank you.
A42, Akaroa Information Centre, seconder, we're happy with this, was discussed on Tuesday, so you had sufficient information to debate, to decide on that.
us on the board of CNZ, do we need to ourselves from
To
that?
just it's only I don't have advice from much, and particularly because we hope to take these as a block. We could just note.
And we'll notice.
We'll just note that.
Thank you.
Take back from that. A33, wastewater. The moving secretary were happy with this. You got advice on Tuesday about it. So it can be put today.
Check, I thought that it wasn't deferred anymore. I thought we were continuing with the consenting process now.
We'll get to when my understanding is that it's continuing with the commissioners. Oh, you're back. I won't give my understanding. What's your understanding?
We're still working through the requirements that the commissioners have asked for processing. It required some additional consenting around discharges, wastewater discharges and extreme weather events, that sort of stuff.
So we've decided to continue with the process instead of stopping to wait till new rules or whatever. Yeah, that's it.
That work is still ongoing at the moment.
Yeah, so we haven't deferred it.
It's not deferred waiting for new rules.
So can you explain 3?
So we so this resolution was particularly about the planting and the so it was site maintenance. So it's underway. There's no additional.
Yeah, that's not very clear then, is it? Oh, so basic site maintenance is related to plantings.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's just maintaining the trees and the trees.
So can I just check with you about resolution number 1 that councillors are waiting for the outcome of the deferred wait more? Is it
We took out the word
yeah,
deferred.
do we have to take out the word deferred there?
Not deferred, it might be at the commissioner point, it's paused while they're waiting for
Ongoing.
information.
The consent process is being deferred.
Yeah, it's, I guess you could say it is ongoing, but we have to wait until we've put in place those other, take the deferred work out.
So we'll just so there's no confusion there.
Sure.
A44 Transport Springfield Road. So it was discussed on Tuesday, so you have sufficient information to make that decision today.
Is it possible to add a 3 that the community board receives an update as soon as possible?
I move that and seconder okay with
On the
that.
move that Councillor Templeton, who's happy that the community board receives an update as soon as we
Oh, yeah.
So it's request, so we'll write it as request that staff report.
or update the community board. Doesn't have to be updated.
Oh, actually, could we change 1 to request that staff report back to council and the community board?
Oh, that would work, wouldn't it? Thank you. Then we don't need 3.
I don't need a 3.
This just highlights, this is one of the ones that I know aligns with the community board priority. So highlights the fact that we don't know about community board priorities.
Yes, it does. It's in
No, I'm
there.
saying it does align with it. So would it be helpful to add some gravitas to that, to say that it's that it has already been identified as a community board priority and work was already underway?
Should we say the staff report?
I put that in my original one, so.
Page 45.
Page 45, McFarlane Park toilet block. Do I understand are happy with this? Nah, and it was discussed on Tuesday, so there's sufficient information to debate and make a decision on this motion petition today. So we're on the home run for the noted ones. So A48, community facilities, homelessness and emergency housing, move and seconder. We're happy with this resolution on Tuesday. It was discussed and we had advice. So again, you have sufficient information to make that decision today if you choose. A49 Scruttons Road, again, mover and seconder confirmed the resolution on Tuesday. You got advice about it, so there's sufficient information to make that decision today as well.
Sorry, my understanding is, I mean, we couldn't cut the funding today, but we could certainly rephase it.
So that, yeah, so that's not today, you can't do that, that's why you're getting advice about that. You'll get advice after this meeting. So A53 Linwood Regeneration Project. So that move and second agreed to this on Tuesday. It was discussed on Tuesday, so there is sufficient information to vote on that today.
Sorry, the concern raised was that there's only $20,000 to do this work. It's going to require a lot more, and there's a whole bunch of capital projects in the current draft annual plan and long-term plan going ahead before this work is even done. So my understanding was we were going to get more information at that briefing in July, similar to probably the emergency housing one. Not deferring it for another year, which basically means that we've lost the benefit of doing the plan because most of the capital will be spent.
So do you want this one changed to?
I was just wondering if it
we
could
have to ask the second as well as request the council report back on.
So my understanding is that we're getting briefed. There's a council briefing happening first week of July on this.
That's correct.
And so as part of that briefing, I guess the question is options to, you know, either fund or to ensure that that work can happen.
So shall we, can we come back to this one? We'll script a resolution that captures that idea, that notes that council are getting a briefing about this in July for the end of the triennial and
I think there's two issues. There's the resourcing required to do the planning, and then there's the issue with the funding available to do things that come out of the planning. But it would be good to get that clarity at the briefing. As I've said, there's a number of projects that are currently underway that will be done ahead of the plan, unless there's some thought given to.
So-
That might exist one, funding is there for the planning, it's just for what comes out of the plan.
okay. So we'll draft this since the move and second changes this Tuesday, so we'll try and capture that and come back to that. Put it up.
Something like a potential prioritisation.
We'll try and draft something and
Thank you.
to look at. Yep. So the next one, parts 54. Neil seconder agreed to this on Tuesday, and it was discussed on Tuesday. So that is enough information today. A55 Aranui Playground renewal. Seconder agreed to this on Tuesday. It was discussed on Tuesday, so you have sufficient information to debate that today. Toilets again, move in seconder. We're heading with this resolution on Tuesday, and it was discussed in the sufficient information that you have to be able to discuss that today. So those are the noting provisions that we will hopefully be able to move. Intends to move in.
Right up to page 14.
Because none of them have the
So if we now move on to the ones that have, and we'll come back to refining that resolution before you move into debate. The ones that actually do have either impact on rates, revenue, or service delivery, and move through those probably in block. So Recon Sport and Property is our first block, that's starting on page 15. So the first one is the tertiary student rate. This was the mover and seconder. Wasn't recommended by staff, but information was given, so it can be voted on today. We do note that it has a updated sports that it would impact.
Obviously, I'd model $200,000, but doing some remodeling, it's 154,000, so it's a reduction in the impact.
So
Instead of doing 0.02.
Victoria?
Just a quick question. When staff presented to us at the beginning of the annual plan process, did they look at this in the fees charges as an option? Did we look at it back then?
Yeah, it was part of that pricing elasticity and all the reports and benchmark we did do. We had discounted it at that point, we didn't include it. And it's hence our advice is consistent with that, which is.
So it was presented as an option in the workshop.
So no.
We rejected it.
No, it wasn't presented as an option in the workshop because we can have a workshop on our fees and charges. We presented in terms of how we've gone through to get to the fees and charges we recommended, which is part of our pricing elasticity report and benchmark.
So it wasn't, it was presented in an information session, or it wasn't?
It was presented in an information session. It wasn't workshopped.
So the next bit that I didn't quite catch you before is
yes, you've done the modelling at 154, is that what you're modelling it at?
Yes, but it's modelled, but it depends how many people.
a guess, it's more than a guess, but it's not somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like the cover we can get.
Can I just, I'm gonna check, does it take into account, so while the discount might be incorporated, because that's the way we do it, so the difference in the price when the people turn up, because we haven't been assessing how many students are coming, we don't know if the overall revenue would be up at the same time. So you might get more people attending, therefore more income overall, but we wouldn't ever be able to measure that, is that right?
Just slow down, because it's hard to hear.
Yes, in terms of, in the modelling, in terms of we have got the people that would receive the discount offset by the new people that would come at the new price. Work through that. So in terms of offsets to get the net impact on the revenue that we have. No, we don't know exactly how many tertiary students are going to come. And the other factor is it's just off casual pulling through. So it's not off concession cards, it's not off memberships, it's just the pulling through component of it. And it also hasn't taken account those that have community services cards or other things that they may be getting the discounts to work. So there's a few things to work through. Hence we've gone with a model of the information we do have.
We don't know currently how many students, tertiary students come in this one, no.
To save the I wanted to change it, and hopefully I'm wondering if Nigel can chime in here and seeing if it's in order, but actually start it permanently from July 1, 2026.
July 129.
Gives it time to adjust.
That would mean all fees are able to be, looked at together at that time.
Yep.
And essentially avoid a
I do it now.
considered at once and makes.
In the next annual plans.
Smart.
Really, yeah.
Thanks, Kelly. Why would it?
To 1 July 2026 is easier for the financial modelling in year. Yeah.
Karakuri will be online too.
Because you
try for a year.
fees at once. So do you mean?
So you're looking at trialing it for a year and then do.
No,
One conversation, guys, come on.
Victoria had a hand up next.
Down. You could lose it.
Clarify, please, Nigel, what was the staff advice on this in terms of whether you recommend that we proceed or not?
Staff advice was that there was a community services card discount and other discount cards are available for people where price was a barrier. So our staff recommendation was not to proceed.
Thank you.
So can we just clarify, the mover has asked for it to be 1 July. 2026, I don't know what the seconder thinks.
Very enthusiastic.
They're enthusiastic.
Ten young'uns.
It makes no, we can support a neutral about when it starts, is that correct?
Yeah, we'll do as quick as we can, but recognise July is just around the corner.
Oh, no, next year.
Next year.
Yeah, no.
Still just around the corner.
Righto, we've got to get going. Mel,
Okay,
Mel's
great.
good. Righto,
Can
so
I just ask one more question on that?
yes, Paula.
Sorry, Nigel, is there an added admin cost to this? Is it going to be difficult to administer? Because it brings in another.
No, it's just adding one button to the point of sale. To do it. So it's not-
Okay, all good. We're moving
Great,
on.
okay, moving on.
Cannon Hall
So
Crescent.
A46 Cannon Hall Crescent, it was put forward on Tuesday, discussed on Tuesday, wording confirmed, and it was enough information to put it today.
Just, is it's one property, so it's 1,200, whatever it is, a quarter acre or whatever. It just seems when we put up a site to sale, someone around the table turns around, oh no, usually in their own ward saying, oh no, that's really important to the community. So I'm just wondering, the ecological value of a 1,200 square metre section over the entire Port Hills, I'm just wondering how that's, how important is this?
Debate.
Okay,
So it's the land value is 30.
Let's debate.
Oh, yep,
Yeah.
okay, yep.
There's enough
Well, just-
information to put that debate, you can debate that.
So we're not going to get time for that.
Have a wee read of that.
Over.
Okay.
From anyway.
Question on that. So the property disposals have not been baked in because we don't know what value they would bring in. So this is no impact, correct?
Sorry.
It's answered on Tuesday. Do you want to answer that again?
Property disposal has not been baked in, so there's no impact on.
So we bank in $3 million per annum as capital revenue.
Yeah.
But knowing this is risk, we actually sell properties, there's market risk for what will be, that's a conservative figure.
Okay.
So a single property, withdrawing a single property like this doesn't affect
Yep.
that 3 million.
Thank you.
target.
And it still stops us getting X whatever dollars in.
Yeah, but it doesn't
That's
affect
debate.
what they've baked.
That's debate. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, forget about that. I'll tell you.
That was the answer to my question. It doesn't affect the debate.
Okay. A56.
A56, investigation of voice Stokes parking. This was moved and seconded, discussed on Tuesday, so there's sufficient information to put that, debate that and put that today. Page A21, Bangor pump station. This was moved and seconded on Tuesday. Information was provided on this. So there's sufficient information to debate, put this in debate this today. Just want to make sure, clarify with this, is when I say there's sufficient information, because it was asked about this one, it doesn't necessarily mean it's consistent with staff advice. It means there's sufficient information to make this.
And the rate impact, 0.01 again?
Existing budgets.
Does it say existing budget?
Yeah, but you have to bring, if you're bringing it forward, it has an impact now instead of later.
That's right.
Yeah.
So can we have that clarified, because I had it noted as.
No, I'm looking at parts and they say no.
It's no.
No impact.
That's correct.
Sufficient job swap.
Well, they're just saying no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no.
It's just job swap.
Great, okay, move on.
A15.
A15,
Page
this is
18.
the section about community aspects. There's the accessibility grant that was discussed on Tuesday. The mover and seconder were happy with this resolution. The rate impact was discussed on Tuesday, so you have enough information to put that today.
Can I just check though, is it a fund or a grant, or because it's not allocated to external organisations, it's just a line item in the budget, isn't it? It's not a grant or a fund.
Yeah, it's a fund that can be funded externally or internally, but it's not, so it's not a grant application process.
You haven't seen the terms of reference or anything.
Used by transport to cut down a curb, it can be given to an organisation to upgrade a facility.
Okay, cool.
I normally get sent an email when staff are suggesting between departments and they go, what do you think? And they just take it off and do it that way. It's pretty simple, but it means that when they hit a speed bump within their departments, they can do it.
Everyone clear about that, not a grant, it's a fund.
Okay.
Yeah, great. So then the next one was about culture galore. It was moved and seconded, it was discussed on Tuesday, and it can be put, there's enough information to put that today. No. Bay's emergency response. This was moved and seconded, were happy with this on Tuesday. It was discussed on Tuesday. And long wait and it catches, so there's enough information to put that today. Transport block now, A1 school crossing raised platform.
I'm just not quite sure under A38. Like, I support the idea of doing it, but do we need to specify a quantum? But we don't know how much.
What do they apply for?
In a year's time, they'll come back and say, well, we're getting what we want, or we don't get, and then we can revise then.
No, I mean, like, okay, so I presume this means it goes into strengthening communities. That's kind of the idea. So they'll put forward a request for X, and we'll consider it as part of that.
No, there's civil
funding.
defence funding, as I understand it.
So the debate on or discussion on Tuesday was about framing it like this so they could utilise any funding. That so that some may come to security, some might come to civil defence. That they didn't on Tuesday, you didn't want to be specific about the
Yeah,
funding.
that's
and
fine,
one to one.
as long as they get the opportunity to come back and say, this is meeting our needs or it's not meeting our needs.
I'm just not sure what we're agreeing to in terms of quantum of funding.
You're not agreeing to that. You're waiting till you get the application and it's clear and then.
Go through the process. Okay.
So it's a
Great.
zero impact.
Great.
So on to transport Harewood Road Crossing Range platform. This was discussed on Tuesday. Move and seconder, happy with it. You have enough information to debate and put this today. Next one, transport Linwood Road PT corridor. Lincoln Road. I kept on calling it Linwood last on Tuesday as well. Lincoln Road PT corridor. The move and seconder, happy with this. It was discussed and information provided on Tuesday. So you have sufficient information to debate and put this today.
Financial year it was 0, and then for the following one.
Mitch, are you able to?
Zero
Yeah,
in
so
front,
many
zero,
Oh,
zero
the
this
8.
year. Okay.
Oh, so it might be 25.
Spread over a bit, no, it's spread over about 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask a question on that? Is it to Lynette? If we were to bring the funding forward for that, but would that then risk NZTA funding potentially? Yeah, I'm just asking for you to explain that fully to us. Please.
Well, the point of pushing this project out in the draft LTP was to enable staff time to do the business case to get the funding. If we bring it forward and start work in the next financial year, we haven't done the business case to get funding.
Yeah.
So we're
cutting.
we will just carry on with the project and we won't put in a case for NZTA funding.
So Te Aratai Cycleway, for example, would.
Okay, all right, go with Sarah, then Aaron, then Vic.
What's the pot of money like for public transport under the current LTF?
Government advice is that it's increased, and it has increased, the pot has increased.
But
Most
it's
of it
mostly
is,
going-
most of it is being used in Wellington.
Yeah.
So there isn't, the pot is the work category is currently oversubscribed.
Likelihood of us getting funding anytime soon for this is slim, at which point the costs will increase.
This, the point of delaying it that staff had put forward at a previous workshop was to delay it so that we were ready for the next NLTP, when we would be in a situation where we would be able to say, this is what we want.
Thanks.
Aaron?
Yeah, so my question is, if once we signal we're happy to fund something, don't they normally go, well, we're happy to fund it, we're out? That's been the track record, isn't it?
Because why should they?
Well, they are out because we haven't followed their process.
Right.
We're doing on debate, but yeah,
Okay,
great.
right,
Clarify
debate.
with this.
And
Not
Vic, and then we'll move on.
So my question then comes down to deliverability. If we're pulling projects forward, regardless of whether there's a budget line in that affects the rates or not this year, surely logic will say that that then adds to the pressure and the deliverability of our capital program.
This is a challenge. This has been considered in the deliverability review that we did, and we did think
To deliver next year.
To deliver next year, and we did think it was. It is already an existing project that we have project manager and staff working on. So it's one of those ones that could go either way. It was the delay was really about being able to do the business case, not the deliverability of it.
Okay.
Just one limit while you're there. How much potential may we miss out on from NZTA?
Oh, what did we cut? It was about 5.8 million for the whole project. That was that was the 51% of 67% of the project.
So this is just one stage of the project.
Yeah.
But this is the big stage. The other bit's the small bit.
Yeah. So the figure you gave the other day was 8.5. So you're saying NZTA are potentially willing to fund up to 75%?
Yes, but we won't have done a business case for sorry, that was 5.8. 5.8 is of the whole project, of the whole of stage 2. And this is the bulk of it, so it'll be 51% of 67% of that of
So the
8.5.
So the 5.8 is not the amount we're talking about on this project here today. 'Cause we're
No,
talking about
it's
just
for the
2B.
whole of stage 2.
So what would the amount potentially be for just 2B?
I haven't got a calculator on me, I'm sorry.
Less than the grant to the Air Force Museum.
Put it this way, we're not gonna get any dough.
About 3 million.
Melanie.
So if we did do the business case and go through that process, I mean, when realistically would be when would we actually be able to start?
With the goal would be to get the business case through the process in the next 2 years, which is just the 24, so that we're ready for the next NLTP in 27. We'll be starting at the beginning of the next 27 year.
But it's unlikely to be funded under the current regime, is it?
No, the current GPS supports public transport. We didn't have a business case in the system to get it supported.
Okay, so you're saying.
And the current investment prioritisation assessment that was done showed this as having a good case for getting funding. It was a 4. So that's why we proposed to delay it to put business case through, because it had a good chance through the system. So that's what we're saying. It's a crystal ball, but.
Okay, so have we one more question, please?
So if you're saying that to wait for NZTA funding, which we may or may not get to pick up 2 million, will the project increase in cost by 2 million by 2 or 3 years' time? Therefore, not to do it now.
5.8 was
To bid on it.
Well, she
It's
says
3 million for this, sorry, councillor McDonald, it's 3 million for this section.
Yep.
That 5.8, 3 million of that is this
What we'd miss out
section.
on.
So 3 million.
3 million is the total cost.
No, 5.8 is the total cost.
No, we're only doing half of it, Sam, you're not listening.
Can I, well, if I could ask my question,
So I don't know how much, sorry, to go back to councillor Cotter's question, I don't know how much it will increase by, but inflation is showing that all our construction projects are increasing.
So we could be better to bite the bullet and just do it, and because we might not realise the real value of that $3 million. No, this is a question though, because it's important.
No, it's not a question I can answer, I'm sorry.
Well, the thing is, if we don't put a business case until 2026-7 and don't start till 27, it's a couple of years, isn't it?
Money's also worthless in a couple of years. It's the same. Things don't actually cost more in the future. It's just the value of
Thank
money.
you.
Just to clarify funding.
Okay, right, one last question from Sarah and then we're moving on.
And tell the residents.
I don't know who's the best person to answer this one, but that bus goes out to a fast growing part of the city. What's the impact if we don't, the longer we wait, it's an area of the city that's growing really fast, the more clogged our streets are gonna get if we don't have decent bus service.
So you had previously had advice from us on this around through the workshops, and we said we've worked with ECAN and we don't believe that's a risk over the next 3 or 4 years. So that the modelling has shown that this is about future proofing it. We understand the perception, but the modelling is showing that we still have it on plan and it is not a risk of delaying it.
So what we're hearing from ECAN and the media at the moment is that we're not doing enough.
so just so I'm really, really clear, not been asked before. So what is the total amount of money we would miss out on from potentially miss out on from NZTA?
On this chart.
If we were to pass this?
So can I take a step back?
Yep.
So section 2 is split into 2 subsections, 2A and 2B. The total for section 2 is 5.8 million if we didn't put a business case in at all for the whole of section 2. For 2B that we are passing today, it is approximately 3 million.
What proportion is funded by NZTA?
For that portion.
The assumptions that we've made for this project, full stop, is that we would get subsidy on approximately 67% of the project.
So 2 mil.
Not a subsidy of.
No, 3 mil, because this costs
So can I just
No.
clarify, you said this section was 3 million total?
No,
And so
this section
6
is the subsidy.
Section would be.
Oh, of the
The subsidy is 3 million in this
Right,
section.
okay, that's what it's up
Subsidy
to. Yep.
loss is 3 million.
Okay, so it's 3 million.
Right.
Yep, perfect.
Now, I
Thank you.
said we wouldn't have any more questions. Andre, have you got?
Yeah, so just go, for there's no guarantee of funding in a few years' time. You apply for it and you hope to get it. And the last couple of years we applied for funding.
Okay.
Not got it.
Cool.
Debate, right?
It's a question to clarify that it's not actually funding sitting there waiting. It's money you would hope to get. That's what I'm trying to clarify here.
But we rule out getting it if we pass this.
Yeah, but you rule in cost escalation.
We get the
Like we
job
rule out
done.
defence funding if we pass the other one.
A30.
Okay, A30 footpaths, this will go on. It was discussed on Tuesday, was based on the information provided and available to the community. Therefore, is the sufficient information to.
Is there a rating impact?
Rating impact on Tuesday, so we can just clarify.
There's no rating.
There's no rate impact in my understanding. Yep, no.
No rating.
Zero.
Andre?
Yeah, just go, because we weren't able to get information on this before the annual plan, and I'm just worried here, like if what we're asking for, and let's say we have an information session in 2 weeks' time, but the budget in the annual plan is say 100 grand short to deliver things we're after, but we're 2 weeks late to allocate that budget, I'm just, we'll end up feeling a bit hard done by it, say if we're 2 weeks late for. You know what I mean?
It's been
You don't know what I mean?
Being prioritised in the program, I think.
Yeah, but there's an amount of budget in there. And so the long-term plan amendment was that we're putting things forward to then inform the 25-26 annual plan. We're now at the 25-26 annual plan, but we haven't got the information on what this program will look like to be able to make a decision on the annual plan based on that. So if what we're putting here, then we find out in 2 weeks that our budget in the annual plan is 100 grand short for what we're trying to deliver, but we're 2 weeks late to fix that.
No, I don't think it's an issue.
The long-term plan budget is more than sufficient.
We're just going over what we talked about.
Yep, so that won't be tripped up by that.
You see what I'm saying, right?
Yes, but you won't get it trip up.
Next, A50, Bromley Road.
Roads, yep. That's was moved and seconded. They were happy with this resolution. This is allocating 26 and 4 million in 26-27.
And 2026, less than 0.01%, and FY 27, 0.02%, and in FY 28, 0.03%.
Okay, happy with that? Move on. Transport wood. So that. Yeah.
One.
You said 26, 27.
FY 26 is less than 0.01%.
25.
FY 27.
What did you say, 25? Okay,
0.02%.
thank you.
Right, Woodhouse Street.
So, Transport Woodhouse Street, include a budget of 50K. It was moved and seconded and discussed on Tuesday.
FY 26, less than 0.01%.
Right, okay, so there was sufficient discussion and information. Now on to
Page what?
page
21.
21. You want to ask a question before I move on to these, or?
Yeah, I just did around today's process to either of you on all of the amendments that have no rates impact. Would you potentially just move all of those together so then people can save their debate space for the ones that they really need to try and win people over on?
I think there's one debate.
Yeah, but there is only one debate, but that way it takes a whole lot out that's not going to be overly contentious.
So councillors can choose what they debate on. Most of you will debate on things that are contentious.
So in that case, my question is, are you happy to move all of the ones that have zero rates?
I don't think you'd want that given the speed humps in that category.
Yeah. So we are going to take.
But that has a cost.
No, they're gonna do it within the budget.
So we
Also-
probably don't want to, I'd need to check with the.
It's a freebie, it's an add-on, I got. the
No, we didn't
contact
take
info.
it.
Can I just clarify, we need to check with the mayor in the break, but my understanding is that from the discussion, the direction he gave the team today is that he wants to take all the information and request one as a block, but every other item to be moved consecutively one by one because it impacts on activities.
All the ones that we did first will go one hit, right up to page 15. And so when we go forward. Yes, Celeste.
Just before we move on to the next section, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
In terms of the pest plant management one, I've just sent through some, or I've provided some revised wording. My email's not working, so I've updated Sam, she can circulate it. It's just a slight tweak to what I put up.
We've got one.
Okay, A6.
So A6, so just to clarify, these were resolutions that were put on Tuesday and discussed on Tuesday. But we wanted some more information, and the lead seconder wanted some more information before the resolution. These the first two, A6 and 7, have been worked on with the moving seconder and water finance and the team, and the moving seconder are happy with these as they stand. It's identified in the resolution because it wasn't clear on Tuesday what the actual rate impact are. So these can be put today. But we wanted to put them up because the resolutions have been slightly changed, tweaked. So
So it's FY 25, 26, yeah. So it's in the coming financial year.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're, just to be clear, there's a different way of, different people use that.
Yeah,
FY
people have been doing it differently.
25, 26 is the same as FY 26.
Yes, depends
So
who
it
you're listening
depends
to.
which
Yeah.
financial.
Some of the things we've said aren't this coming year, they're gonna be 26, and so they're not being used and consistent.
Yeah. So FY 26 means 25, 26. FY 27 means 26, 27. Okay, great. So those are clear. I think they were discussed. It's just sharpening up the things. The next one, Paddington Park toilets. This one was confirmed by the seconder today or yesterday, and they've just been tweaked since the discussion on Tuesday. So we wanted to make sure everyone was clear.
That was your wording that you sent through by.
Councillor Scandrick agreed with that. Different two together. Yeah, so. That's right, I saying the two.
Sorry,
together. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, happy with that. The information was given on Tuesday, it was discussed, so it was just a refining of the resolution.
So that's that one, that's what's in there.
Yeah. It was discussed on Tuesday, and we just needed to refine and confirm the resolution. And so I think we've confirmed with Fields and Coker that they're happy with that. So it can be put today.
I wanted to put the money amount. I think that's what I said on Wednesday, wasn't it? On Tuesday.
This was what was noted on Tuesday, but if you want to change it, we can just have a date, because we've got two that councillors are wanting to change, and if you can do this one, so can you clarify what you want, and then we can split
the amount.
What amount?
200,000.
200,000.
To be administered by Christchurch, sorry.
Which one?
36. Oh, sorry, 36, yeah.
Yeah, and number one. item number 1.
Otherwise, it's just like we're just asking them to do what they're already doing. But at the moment, we're asking them to do something that we're not funded to do.
Yep.
How would we word that so that, because we're effectively increasing the overall budget for CNZ, but asking them to do a specific task?
I guess we'd skip something to provide additional funding to Christchurch NZ with the expectation that they do ABC.
Because we've asked them to do a specific task within the letter of expectation, which is to report separately on bank potential stuff, but we've done a destination management plan, so we're not actually like supporting them to be able to implement.
But does that mean, I'm just, so I've got to clear my mind.
No worries.
Does that mean, I'm not for this one, but in general, we could then go, all of the 15 million a year, I could bring an amendment and say, I want 2 of that to go directly to events. To like, is that what we're, because that's the precedent this would set.
No, this is giving them more.
This is giving them additional money and also telling them how to spend it to target to this activity.
So I could.
Well, that's what the councillors.
But I'm just saying, what effectively what we'd be adopting those perhaps we could say we revoke all the funding, and instead of having a letter of expectation, fund activities. Is that what
could end up with?
Well, that's what we can, which if we can, then I mean that's something we'll work towards for next year.
Well, we do that with their events.
We haven't got a resolution about that today, and we couldn't use it today, but
it's almost precedent.
If it's making particularly Victoria.
Guys, could you listen to Tyrone? Thanks.
Because, yeah, I mean, I don't want to start creating some kind of precedent. I mean, I'm just eager to be able to support a particular initiative.
Could we, I'm just thinking of a way through it. Could we ask them to do it? And if not, they come back to us?
Well, the other
I'll
thing
be pragmatic
is
about it,
that
it's fine.
I'm just saying, because if you're trying to get an outcome, it might be we go, because I think we should be putting.
I'm not trying to bash it through, I'm just trying to get a good
but
outcome.
we put like a tension on them and go, hey, can they actually do it? And if not, come back, because they might have some options on stuff they're doing now that they go, actually, it's not providing best value. I just don't want to set a precedent where the council can literally line by line dictate everything they're doing.
But if you look at 2, they're not keen.
But we come back with a resolution. We'll come back with a solution.
No, I've got a question,
Yeah,
sorry.
you're getting a question.
I've got a question, clarity. So the resolution asks for us to put this in the letter of expectation at the end of this year. Your statement of intent comes back, when is it? I don't think this would be. Financial.
The letter of expectation already asks them to report separately back on Banks Peninsula initiatives.
You've asked for it to go into the letter of expectation in this December.
Well, I mean, that's the resolution as it's come back to me. I don't necessarily agree with it.
I don't think this funding would pass and kick in till 26, 27.
Let's just ask them what's required to implement the destination management plan, and then they can come back to us, tell us what that is.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Wait, we're right on the last page.
Thank you.
Okay, so
That's good.
Tyler, then Tim.
That's fine. If it's being restructured, I don't need to ask a question.
Yeah, look, I totally get where you're coming from, Tyrone, regards to this, but following along what Sam's saying, we need to question the priorities of the funding they already have and ask that question. So I totally get the priority and the importance of it, but I can't add another 200K because it's just giving them extra money to do something. So I'm just explaining.
So just to be clear, that's debate. So we will going to amend this resolution to listing it in there. There's an additional one that requests Christchurch NZ to advise of any additional funding will be required.
Yeah, that'll do.
Okay. And
so there's a 0 rate impact.
Is there going to be a follow-up to the request for the visitor levy? The ask Christchurch NZ to actually apply for the
It's not
visitor.
in this, isn't being debated, you can't decide on that today.
Thank you for your feedback.
And the last one,
Morehouse Ave.
Stewart Street.
That was discussed on Tuesday. The meeting super over. And so it can be today.
Can I just check just on the wording? Where are we deferring it to?
Yeah.
Is it deferring it for a year?
Delete, that's fine.
The deleting the, I mean, are we deferring it for until the next long-term plan so we can make a decision on it then? Or
till the next
to get some
LTP.
more to the next, so 20
You need the full
FY
open.
27?
I think
Yeah,
like, it'd be good to defer it until the
Yeah.
working party reports back on the cost of doing stuff. This is only for a business case. So it's just insane amount of money, a single set of traffic lights.
So
It's been
why,
300K, so-
actually, I think councillor Templeton's right, to identify
Yeah.
time, so defer the line item improvement
2051.
consideration the next.
Happy with that, yeah?
2051 would be cool.
Should be a year
Timmy's turn.
My understanding Stewart Street that was put forward because of the connectivity. So there's no point doing it until we understand the traffic and footprint. So if we're going to defer it, it should be for 12 to 24 months because
said
the
24.
because the principle of the whole start of this thing. Well, I'm just saying, we need to get.
It's 24 months, be deferred to 24 months.
So just before we move on,
Yeah.
clarify, then we had a number that are on the back of your sheet. With the second,
Don't you dare.
That wasn't, sorry, just to check, that wasn't really the case. So, no, so.
I definitely lost my one, yeah.
So some of them, some have actually lapsed for one of the secondary, so that's not the same as before.
Like going on a date with yourself.
Yeah. And A47.
Okay, Victoria.
Guys, can we just keep it down?
So these are the ones following on from the other day. What happens to the new ones that I'm aware people are trying to raise today? I know we don't have this one
today yet, that has been flagged, there were, councillor Moore flagged his, but isn't putting it on. So.
Okay, so I'm looking directly over there, Tyrone.
What if we could have a break and so we can discuss.
Tyrone.
With your
So councillor Henstock, we would like to, staff would like to ask him for a break so we can discuss it with councillor Fields before he puts it forward.
Lovely, I'd be very happy with that.
Okay.
I'm just having tech issues, so I might need to sort that out, but I know.
So
Yes, it's the one budget we have. I've just tweaked something, so I've sent it through to Sam. We can discuss it in the break.
How long a time do you think?
is that another one, the one you've already tweaked?
Yeah.
I'm just late. Aaron.
It's a very minor change, you won't even notice it.
I, because I still had a couple of questions on A16, the water meters. So my first one is in number 1, where it's 3.5 the first year, if I read this right, and then 3.5 the following year, but the rates impact was 0.01 and then 0.03, but it's the same quantum per year. So how does that?
So I can put that one up.
Team, they did confirm this last night, so.
Because through you, your worship, because it's capital, we don't, not all of it is incurred in the first year, so we split it 40% in the first year, 60% in the second year, so that.
And that's the same number.
Even though, yes,
Okay.
that's why it's a phasing of our capital expenditure.
Yeah, and then the other one was, and because we haven't workshopped this, it's hard to know, but the number of properties, do we know how many a single line going, water line going into multiple units across the city? So we know how many are not metered, but because if you're single line, then my next follow-on question is, what is the solution? Is it a new line to every property, or do we
To
have?
clarify, that is what number 2 is there for. So that staff will report that regarding the implementation and will advise on that.
So we don't know what it's going to be spent on.
Yeah, so which is, we're gonna, yeah.
You don't have specifics. Yeah.
Well, no, I want to know before we commit money to something that the problem can be solved, because it might be, without putting in new lines. Yeah,
So just Claire, Brent just arrived back this morning, so I just wanted to check whether Tim needed to come in. We did the work yesterday.
So the smart meter technology does allow us to do exactly what you've said, which is so without having to run in where you've got multiple lines running into multiple properties, you can actually put them on. We have the ability to do that under the. We don't have the numbers. I haven't got the numbers for you as to how many of each.
Okay, so my question is, how does it work when it's all on one line? Can it differentiate each?
That's what I said, we have the ability to go in where the line, after it's branched off.
So it takes off unit 6, then unit 5 and works its way backwards. Okay, and that's a smart, so someone doesn't go into the property to read it. That's remotely that system we're talking about. So no one goes in.
They wouldn't have to.
Okay, because that was my concern, is around safety on that.
Oh, good. That's great.
Okay, thank you.
We're really motoring along now. We've got Vic, Sarah and Kelly.
So can I clarify, please, in relation to the one that we referenced before about Andre, is this the one that was on Facebook last night, or is there another one? Post about the Kart Club.
Yeah, so
Same as-
Mary's mentioned getting a report to us over the coming months. We're going to get something in January, February.
Okay, well, I just wanted to check that that was that one, not anything else that's floating. Okay, so have we got some clarity on how many new ones we've got today that we didn't know about?
There's one potential new one today, which we're going to discuss with Council Fields.
And something coming through from Celeste.
Oh, just changing
It's
words.
not a new one, it's just a tweak to the wording.
So we have.
Thank you.
So we've got, have a break.
Just again, yeah.
That tweaked language that councillors are tweaking today, and we'll bring those back to you to just so everyone's clear about what they're debating.
Okay, so, yep, so we still have two questions, Sarah and Kelly. Yeah, good. Sarah, Cal, did you?
I'm fine.
Okay, right. How long we want, Mary?
2 years.
2 years.
Long enough to be a drink.
10 minutes?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, right, 1
minutes,
o'clock.
thank you.
Thank you.